This is Valley News Live at 10.
Many students are going back to school next week. Have you seen this video? It's an Oklahoma mom going over what to do in an active shooter situation at school with her 5-year-old son who has a bulletproof backpack here.
Yeah, law enforcement have been practicing active shooter drills all around in different spots we've shown you, but what can parents do? And is this too much? Valley News Team's Alex Larson spoke with a specialist on how to go about the conversation with your kids.
This is not something they're prepared for. This is not something they think about regularly.
Megan Week specializes in behavioral counseling. And she says if you've been wondering how to have the conversation about active shooter drills in school with your kids, you're not alone. She says she sees children get more anxious about the issue when they start approaching middle school.
As they get older, they start to kind of understand what this means. They're paying closer attention to the world around them. They're coming out of that more self-obsessed stage into more of that seeing things from other people's perspective stage.
As for how much you should share about the topic, she says it'll depend on the child.
I would just treat it like any other drill that's going to happen during the day, but be really open to talking about it with them in the evening after school if they have any questions, feeling like you can answer those questions honestly.
For younger kids, Week says let them figure out what they think about it. Don't assume their anxiety about the drills is the same as adult anxiety.
They don't see things the same way we do, so we don't want to assume that they'll feel better with all of the details just because we would feel better with all the details.
To navigate that, Week says start the conversation by asking your child what their thoughts are. And if your student is particularly anxious,
if you can get a layout of kind of what the timeline is for this drill from the kid's teacher and review it with them, I think that's a perfectly appropriate approach.
That way, you can mentally prepare your child for exactly what will happen and when. In Fargo, Alex Larson, Valley News Live.
If your student is struggling to go to school to the point that they're making themselves sick, it's time to reach out to your doctor to find options to address the issue professionally.
All right, time now to switch gears a bit, talk about the weather outside. Turned out to be a pretty nice night for football. First start of the high school football season. What the weekend has in store, here's First Alert Storm Team meteorologist Nathan Hopper.
That's right, Justin. Thanks. Yeah, great night for Friday night football, to say the least. We did have some showers and storms around. Kind of a continuation of our two-day active pattern for both yesterday and today. Look at some of the spots that saw some the biggest rainfall reports past 24 hours or so. Look at Cavalier, almost 2.5 inches of rainfall measured there. Stephen, Minnesota, 2 and 3/10 of an inch basically measured there, and a lot of folks in the 1 to 2 inch range across North Dakota and Minnesota. Some much needed rainfall here at Valley News Live South Fargo. We measured 1.61 inches of rainfall for the past 24 hours or so. You can see a plane landing there at Hector International Airport. Clear skies have taken hold now that the sun has set. Any of those lingering showers that were around from this low pressure system down here had fizzled right out. We saw that lightning diminishing pretty early on this evening, and now that the sun has finally set, we're seeing just a few lingering raindrops here or there. Nothing too concerning at all. Maybe Barnes County, Valley City area seeing one out toward Mobridge. But that's all we've got. High pressure is now making its way in. So Stacy, Justin, that's what we're tracking for this weekend is high pressure. So of course we'll break down what to expect this weekend in a few minutes.
All right, thanks Nathan.
All right, now to a Valley News Live investigation. A new city requirement is creating some tension for massage therapists in Fargo. Starting next month, they will have to pay additional fees just to keep their doors open. Now, massage is really one of the only, if not the only, profession in the city which needs a city license on top of a state license. The city says it's needed to weed out some of the bad eggs, but others say it really isn't fair.
We're being penalized for doing legitimate therapeutic massage in lieu of those that are not.
The board of massage out in Bismarck, you know, they're limited resources as well, so they only do a certain percentage of inspections a year.
Dakota cities are in charge of regulating licensed massage therapists, but Fargo hasn't been doing this, they say, meaning establishments haven't been monitored for health standards or illegal activity. You can watch more of our investigation into this story on our VNL News app. You can download and use that for free. Just search VNL News in the App Store today.
New tonight, Pro-Life Action Ministries is vowing to shut down the new Red River Women's Clinic location. They held a protest this evening across the street from the new clinic along Highway 75 North.
Let's commit tonight to be those people who will tirelessly work to close this facility down. So like my friend David B. Wright says, no more babies will die and no more women will cry.
This rally was in coordination with a community grassroots effort by a coalition of churches. Prayer vigils are also being held on Thursdays in front of the clinic. Meanwhile, attorneys for the Red River Women's Clinic have asked a North Dakota judge for a temporary restraining order to prevent the state's anti-abortion law from taking effect next Friday. The clinic's representation claims the state's constitution guarantees a right to abortion, but the assistant attorney general argues that's not the case and it would be against the will of the people of North Dakota.
Doctors will need to balance the risk of jail time with safeguarding their patients' health.
Importantly, these concurring opinions recognize that North Dakota's long-standing history of prohibiting abortion except to preserve a woman's life.
The judge says he would issue a ruling on the temporary restraining order by next Friday.
New tonight, a public hearing is scheduled to talk about issues at the Beltrami County Jail. Officials say it faces challenges, including severe lack of housing, falling short of Department of Corrections standards, increasing mental health and drug dependency issues, and outdated infrastructure leading to safety liabilities. We have a link to give comment on this public issue on our website, valleynewslive.com.
Across the country, it's a fire sale for dealers rushing to sell ghost guns before the federal government takes action next week.
Ghost guns are made without serial numbers, meaning law enforcement can't trace them when they're used in a crime. Well, the federal government's now taking action. Red Chapman shows us how the law is changing and how ghost guns are impacting crime in Minnesota.
Violent crime has been something that's really plagued our community. We've seen a big uptick in violent crime. We have unprecedented gun violence.
And the guns used in a growing number of crimes in Brooklyn Park are untraceable. Privately made firearms are ghost guns with no serial number.
We had a shooting last night in a city park. We had a shooting on Saturday night where over 40 rounds were fired. We recovered a ghost gun in that shooting. We're seeing it almost on a nightly basis.
Commander Elliot Faust says what worries him most is the age of the people caught with these ghost guns and where they find them.
Yeah, I think that's one of our biggest concerns is it seems like a lot of these guns are falling into the hands of the youth. There's some sort of underground market that's selling these unserialized guns. And if it doesn't take much of an imagination to see how that could be. You can order these guns in mass, ship them to your doorstep, do a little bit of work, create a fully functional firearm, and you can sell it to whoever you want.
Brooklyn Park is not the only city in Minnesota seeing a rise in crimes involving ghost guns, and it's a problem across the country, too. That's why on August 24th, new federal regulations will require companies selling gun kits to have serial numbers on the parts and do background checks on anyone buying those parts.
And so this new law that's going into effect, I think, will cut down a lot on how the retail market is for the ease of purchase for these.
Many online companies are posting countdowns to the new regulations, pushing sales. CBS News Investigates found Bob and Hugh making ghost guns inside their California garage. Once assembled, the guns look identical to those sold in stores, except there's no serial number to trace them if used in a crime.
Since 2016 to 2021 nationally, there's about 45,000 suspected ghost guns, and we could only trace about 0.98% of those.
Another issue, 3D printers. Assistant agent in charge of the St. Paul ATF says 3D printed gun parts are flooding the market and they too are untraceable. Federal officials hope these new regulations will help stop the use of ghost guns in violent crime. And for those who choose to ignore the new laws,
we are targeting you. We are coming after the people that are illegally possessing firearms and they're doing bad things with them.
Reg Chapman, WCCO 4 News.
The ATF is partnering with state and local law enforcement agencies to find ghost guns and those making them available to people who can't normally buy guns.
Their efforts will ramp up when new laws take effect on Wednesday.
Check this out. 52 soldiers with the North Dakota National Guard were honored at a welcome home ceremony this evening in Devil's Lake. The soldiers were deployed overseas for almost a year. This ceremony formally recognizes the unit's accomplishments and thanks the families for their support.
And Halloween fans, get ready. Spirit Halloween once again opening in Fargo. This year at the former Gordman's location. Last year, the store was located in the old Toys R Us building. Spirit's website indicates the Fargo location will be open later this month.